Behold my mighty weapon. Get it? Weapon? Like pen? Yeah? It's a sword, weapon, pen. Hello, my name is Sarah and today is a big day. I am finally doing a book talk. Today I will be discussing Graceling by Kristin Cashore. Graceling is a companion novel to Fire and Bitter Blue. They all take place in the same world. Fire is first and earliest in the timeline, then it's Graceling, and then it's Bitter Blue. Graceling is a debut novel and it is the best book to really get into and understand the series. I've heard there was one character in both Fire and Graceling and then a few characters from Graceling in Bitter Blue. I didn't love this book. I strongly disliked most of it, but the end of it was good enough so I almost wonder if I should pick up the other two.
And I'm just like, we are never, ever, ever getting back together. And then it calls me up like, oh, I still love you. And it's just, it's exhausting.
Graceling takes place in a land that consists of 7 kingdoms. It has kind of a Game of Thronesy feel to it. There's Nander and Sunder and Wester and Istil and the Midlands and Leonid and oh geez, this is hard. And Marthia. In this book there are a few people with 2 different colored eyes, and these are people who are graced. A grace is basically a heightened ability. Like if you're graced with dancing, you're going to be a phenomenal dancer. If you're graced with swimming, you're going to be an abnormally good swimmer. Our main character, Katsa, is graced with killing. Her uncle, King Randa, decides to send her off to torture or kill his enemies, or maybe just people who didn't pay their taxes. And Katsa, she doesn't really like that. She tries to take charge of her own life and not live in fear of her uncle, but that's not really what the story's about. A kidnapping occurs and it doesn't really make sense to anybody. The characters have to go and figure out why the person was kidnapped and who was the kidnapper. And that's all I'm going to say about the plot. If you want to know more, I will put a link to the book trailer down below. It's a pretty good trailer. Just get past the first few seconds because it's kind of awkward at first, but it gets better. It's put into your head that having a grace is rare, but it feels like a third or a fourth of the population is graced. Oh, how convenient. It's another graced person. I found the writing style a little strange, but by the end it became a lot more consistent, which made the end more enjoyable to read. There were 2 words that kept popping up and it annoyed me to no end whenever they were used. The 2 words were well and lady. She would write well before a sentence and it would make no sense whatsoever. I'm pretty sure they didn't just randomly say the word well. Back in medieval times. Well, and she knew they must have this conversation eventually. And lady. It was really annoying whenever she said the word lady by itself. Saying Lady Katsa or my lady or anything like that was fine, but just saying lady by itself is kind of informal and a little bit rude. And it was just kind of awkward. I'm going to return to my rooms now, she said. He straightened. Lady, I have questions for you. Lady, I got some questions for you. You ain't going nowhere. To me, it felt the world was just not captured very well. Maybe it's just me. I'm really obsessed with old-fashioned things, and maybe I've just done a lot of research. It's not specifically medieval times or anything like that. I mean, you can do what you want when it's a fantasy, but there's a line. There's some things you need to incorporate from real history to make this time period seem more believable. Every time I mentioned I was reading this book to someone, it would be like, oh, I love that book, it's so good and really cool. I don't really think I like it. Well, Fire is a lot better. Everyone has said that Fire is the best and Bitter Blue is the worst. Bitter Blue is like boring or something, kind of dull. But who am I to tell you if it's good or not? Go read it, make your own opinion on it, and then come back and we'll discuss what happens. So that's the end of the non-spoilery section. Go read it and then come back. Goodbye. Goodbye. So what I did like about Graceling, I liked Bitter Blue, even though she didn't really act like she was 10 years old. I really wanted to see more of her nightmares. I guess I like Poe and Katza's relationship, but I don't really ship it. There really weren't many romantic moments with them except for that part at the end and that one thing in the middle. However, from the moment Ban entered the story, I shipped him and Raffen so hard. Ban is Raffen's best friend. I ship them immediately. I want it to happen, and it will. I love Raffen. I just wanted more of him, and him and Ban together. Is it canon? Does it actually happen? Because I would not mind being spoiled on that. That might be the only reason I might read Bitter Blue. I started Graceling with that sort of cautiousness that we all have when we first start a new book that we don't really know anything about.
It just got more and more annoying, and it just grew into this hatred.
I'd already guessed Poe's secret, but I didn't really know what it was for certain. And then when Katza found out about Poe's secret, called him a traitor.
You are the biggest hypocrite I've ever had the unpleasure of reading.
She'd already been annoying me with her issues with the whole mind-reading Graces. She complains about how everybody fears and stays away from her and how all Gracelings are outsiders. And then she has the nerve to, when she met that little girl who could read minds, and she was thinking that she would kill that girl in an instant before she let her read her mind. Just, so frustrating. And another thing that annoyed me about Katza is that she claimed that she didn't have any friends. The only people she thought might be her friends were Raffen, All, and Helda. Are you blind? She has the council, for one thing. Everyone there seems to like and respect her. You don't meet anybody in this book who backs down because of fear. She meets people that fear her, sure, but none of them run away. They either fight her or help her anyway. I didn't really see much of that divide between people who are graced and between everybody else. She says she's forced to hurt people and that she hates doing it, and it's a big thing when she overcomes her uncle's wishes, but I didn't see her once do anything he said. I know it would have made the book longer, but I wish I could have seen more of how she was forced to hurt these people and how she was too afraid to do anything about it. I think that would have really added something to the story and her character. But anyway, after reading the part where Katza says that she'll expose Poe and that she feels so betrayed and other idiocy, I took a 3-day break to calm down. When I returned, I started to kind of like the story. 471 pages. 200 pages in, I started to like it. It got good about 200 pages in when Poe took his shirt off. Mainly because the characters got more believable and the dialogue was better and Katza felt really uncomfortable, which I loved, and, yeah. So it was interesting for a while, and then it started to drag. It got a little boring. The only thing that kept up my interest was Bitter Blue. Once Bitter Blue showed up, the writing style got more consistent. It was still a little weird, especially with the overuse of the word child. You would think that after saving her life and really trusting each other and becoming really close, Poe and Katza would have started calling her Bitter Blue instead of child and princess. But hey, what can you do? I didn't really mind. My second favorite part, besides the awkward shirt thing, was when Katza and Bitter Blue went through Grella's pass. It was good to see Katza so vulnerable. Deep down, she is still only human. Her grace can only do so much for her. I don't think I said this. Katza's grace is actually survival. It was pretty cool to be able to, like, force yourself to go to sleep because, I mean, I don't sleep easily, so just being able to be like, sleep, and then being able to, and then like, sort of setting a timer in your brain to when to wake up. That's really cool. And Poe's grace is pretty neat too, but only hearing people's thoughts about you is kind of, that doesn't lower your self-esteem. I don't know what will. If I had to choose a superpower, I would want to be able to read minds, but not like Edward Cullen, who can read everybody's mind. I'd want to read minds, but pick out whose mind I want to read. Like, if I'm sitting in a room and I want to read this certain person's mind, I would think their name or something, and then, or just focus on them and then I'd be able to read their thoughts. That would be really cool. Around the time when Katza and Bitterblue went to the docks, it started to get pretty interesting. But I wish we'd spent more time with Poe's family. His entire family just seemed like so much fun to get to know, and I really respected his mother and grandfather. I loved Sky. He was just a ball of fun. He kind of reminds me of Seth from Twilight, except not as good. Leonid? Leonid? I'm gonna say Leonid. About the Leonid. In the beginning, I pictured them to look like Viserys and Daenerys from Game of Thrones. Kind of like the elves from Lord of the Rings, except more humanish. When Poe arrived, I'd pictured him like Viserys, and then Katza says that the Leonid are known for their dark hair. The Monsane King was scary. I wanted to hear more from him. If I read Bitterblue, I'm hoping to see more of his and Bitterblue's backstory because I think that would be really interesting. I wanted to know why he was a psychopath and how he turned evil. Why was he completely insane? There were a few more mature elements that I could see Kristin Cashore trying to incorporate into Graceling, but it felt a little strange. It didn't really fit the theme of what I expected this to be like. That sex scene was a little surprising. It wasn't very explicit, but it was just surprising. I guess I just felt kind of numb about everything that happened. I didn't feel much fear or worry while reading this. I didn't feel super involved with the story. I feel like Katza was supposed to be one of those strong female protagonists that girls should look up to, with her not wanting to be married or tied down or anything like that, which I respect, but I didn't see as much of that strength as I wanted to. Being independent is not quite the same as being strong. I didn't really admire her. I couldn't relate to her. The foreshadowing in this book was so obvious. I mean, with the whole mind reading thing with Poe, that wasn't that surprising. I had already guessed that Poe was going to be blind. When his head hit the water like that, I knew it would have some sort of brain damage, and I assumed that he would either be temporarily or permanently blind, which I was even more certain of when it said that he couldn't really focus in on Katza. But when he winced, when Katza called out to him in her head, I wondered if maybe his grace was damaged, maybe he'd lost it. I wondered if that could happen, if a certain part of the brain is damaged, then would a person lose their grace? Would their eyes turn the same color? They were interesting questions, but no, his grace is fine. It was really funny when Katza was like, so if I say your name in my head, you'll hear it, right? I can like just call out to you in my head? And Poe's like, yeah. And then while they're riding, Katza screams in her head, Poe! And then Poe's like, what? But yeah, that's all I have to say about Graceling. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you liked it. Please comment below any other thoughts you had on Graceling. And please subscribe to see more of my videos. That's the end of the book talk. Goodbye! Oh, that smell. That's weird. Yes? What? Which was the Monsayan? Yeah? 1 second. Lunch is ready. My second favorite part besides the uncomfortable shirt thing. Ow, I hurt my ear. The Poe and Katza would have started calling her the only thing that kept up my interest was Bitterblue. Is it Helga or Helda? No divot. In case you don't know, Seth from Twilight is one of my fictional boyfriends. I have a few. Oh wait, no, I found it. Shoot. Sugar nuggets. Ugh. Oh, there it is. But that one kind of makes sense. I should have done this before. No, I'm just gonna do this. After that, it gets